Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. I'm the pretty one, Levi.
I'm Howie. I'm the other one, I suppose. Welcome to Northwest Magic. Today we're going to talk about the Precon Sauron Lord of the Rings from the Lord of the Rings Commander decks.
Yes, we is. From a distance, he kind of looks like a horseman. From a distance, like his face and head.
Oh, like the fires, like the hair,
Yeah.
and the dude. I see it. I see it.
Right? Yeah. To
Wow.
preface, me and Howie do not engage much in Lord of the Rings. We are not huge fans of it. Not that it's bad or anything. We just don't really know much. So that's kind of funny. So
I was
all
about
right.
to. I was about to call you dumb, but you're right. It kind of looks like a horse.
He kind of looks like a horse, right? So Sauron, Lord of the Rings, horseman. This guy is expensive. He's 5, blue, black, and red. Whenever you cast this spell, so he has a cast trigger, you amass Orcs 5, mill 5 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And then whenever a commander an opponent controls dies, the ring tempts you. So immediately, just upon looking at him, he's a big boy. He's a cast trigger. He looks like somebody that you want to play to his strength. So you're making an army, and you're milling yourself, getting and cheating out some big boys, some big creatures. Would you say that's probably the alignment you should probably be going, Howie?
Yeah, I think so. By the way, I think we should explain what the ring tempting you is real quick. Just real quick. As the ring tempts you, I'll read it. You get an emblem named the ring. You don't have one. Then, your emblem gains its next ability and you choose a creature you control to become or remain your ring bearer. The ring can tempt you even if you don't control a creature. The ring gains its abilities in order from top to bottom. Once it gains an ability, it has it for the rest of the game. Each time the ring tempts you, you must choose a creature you control, if you control one. Each player can only have one emblem named the ring and only one ring bearer at a time. And then it goes in order. 4 abilities. Your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at end of combat. And lastly, whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. Lots of stuff.
Yeah. You want the ring to tempt you, man. Like, it's part of the deck, it's part of the commander, and there's some goodies to be had when the ring tempts you. So, with all 3 of those things combined, we're gonna review this first. And then we're gonna talk about what we would add to the deck, some things to make it better. 10 cards we're going to add, and then we're going to give you our input on 10 cards that we're going to remove after we review it. So,
yep. And
let's talk about what...
Notably, I'm just going to say that all 10, we're going to do 10 upgrades. They are all in-universe, so they're all Lord of the Rings cards.
Yes, all on theme. We are trying to make this an upgrade guide that's still on theme with this. It's all in the same universe, all from the same set, so pretty darn neato. Well,
keeps the cohesion.
Let's jump right into kind of what we like about the deck. Howie, tell me a little bit of the few of the things you noticed immediately that came to your mind. If you're like, dang, this is cool.
I like some of the reprints, honestly. There's Reanimate, Living Death, Scourge of the Throne. Those are all solid reprints. There's not too many big hits, but like those ones really stand out to me. I like those a lot.
Yeah, the reprints in this are pretty darn cool. I really enjoy some of these newer creatures. Like I like Shelob quite a bit. Whenever
Super
a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, exile it, and then for 2 and a black, put a creature card exiled with Shelob Dreadweaver in its owner's graveyard, and you put 2+1/+1 counters on Shelob, or for X 1 and a black, put target creature card with mana value X, exile the Shalob onto the battlefield tapped under your control. You can kind of like steal people's things from their graveyards. Pretty neato. I like that it's trying to be very evil. The theme of this is evil. You know, you're stealing other people's things. You're making a big army, and I feel like they've really, really tried with that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Like, it definitely feels on theme. It all feels very black, red, and blue. You know what I mean? Yeah, the deck's a little bit all over the place. We got a lot of like micro themes in here, goblins and orcs, a little bit of looting, a little bit of reanimating some big creatures to go along with it, which kind of works with the looting, the discarding and drawing, but it doesn't feel 100% like
it's not focused.
That's the word I wanted. Yeah,
there's honestly probably more than 10 cards I would change out of this, but I want to keep it simple. But other than that, like, we have some pretty cool reprints. I really like the flavor, and I think the deck is actually extremely fun to play. Sauron's just cool, and I like that he's on cast. He's a very expensive guy, but he at least, even if he gets countered, he still gets a lot of his stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So.
The cast trigger is super important. Because if you're going to pay 8 mana for your commander, you definitely want that to happen right now.
Yeah.
Even if he gets countered.
Exactly. A few other things just before probably get into our cuts and stuff, our things. I like the inclusion of anger in here. I think it's pretty important that your things get haste. I like that Saruman's in here.
Especially with like the looting. You can get anger in there kind of easy.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of looting. I think all the looting style cards that are in this deck are fantastic. I actually do kind of like... They have some cycling stuff, which I understand what they're going for, you know? They want to get more stuff in your graveyard, but yeah, it's strange.
Well, I mean, like when we look at like Rampaging War Mammoth, right? It's 7 mana. It's a trampling elephant, 9/7. It's got cycling X2 in red. When you cycle him, you destroy X-target artifacts. So, you know, you cycle him, draw a card, destroy some artifacts, and then cast your commander and get him back.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty... He at least kind of fits the... kind of what's going on, the theme here, so... Yeah, get him in the graveyard. So, like, a lot of that stuff makes sense, you know?
I don't know, it feels a little broken up and not focused, like you said, but when we look at all these little micro interactions, the deck plays well enough for a precon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the people that make this, especially with under the budget constraints I'm sure they have, are very talented and know what they're up to. Cool. I want to look at maybe some artifacts. There's any cool artifacts up in here? No, actually, there's really not much.
It's all mana artifacts.
Yeah, it's all just mana artifacts.
The coolest one is the newest. I think it's the only new one on here. It's Relic of Sauron. It's 4 mana, tap sad, 2 mana in any combination of the Grixis colors, which is red, blue, and black. But then you can draw 2 cards and discard a card, which is what you want to do.
That's actually not too bad. Grixis deals a lot with kind of this sort of stuff, so
yeah,
that's actually not a bad artifact.
No,
not bad.
Not at all. Looks like his horse head.
Let's get into what we would add.
I like this one a lot. It's Sauron's Ransom. 1, a blue, and a black for an instant. Choose an opponent. They look at the top 4 cards of your library and separate them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. The ring tempts you. So you get a little bit of that ring tempting we talked about earlier, but it's fun. It's like a little miniature version of Fact or Fiction, but also you get stuff in your hand, so it's like a draw spell, but you get stuff in your graveyard that you can bring back later with Sauron. It just works. And his name's on the card.
Yeah, honestly, in a Sauron deck, every single one of the Saurons should be in here. Just,
a little bit
just
of a
thematically.
little bit of a peek into the future.
A little bit of a peek. Oh, I think I might be completely wrong, but I think the ring can look at some future, like the future, right? Or am I like thinking of something else? You can make. I know it can make you go invisible, or something. Oh, we're gonna get flamed. I can already tell. I want to talk about adding the
in
one
the comments.
ring.
Tell me like 3 things the ring does, but make one of them a lie, and I'll believe all of it.
Yeah. The one ring, we wanted to add this to it because, first of all, I feel like it's just obvious. Second, it's an indestructible artifact that when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the one ring. For tap, put a burden counter on the one ring, then draw a card for each burden counter on the one ring. It is a 4 mana artifact. I think it just goes pretty well with this deck. It's entirely on theme, of course, and
it also
doesn't
gives you protection for a whole turn. That's really good. Gives you card draw, also really good. When you pull the 1/1 ring, you throw it in here. That's really good too.
Exactly.
Make your deck cost $1 million more.
Right.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, if any of you pull the one ring, put it in this deck. Buy the Precon.
Specifically. I'm just gonna put 2 and 1 right here. They're a little boring to add, but your commander is 8 mana, so I added 2 ramp spells: Thought Vessel and Chromatic Lantern. Thought Vessel, taps for colorless, no maximum hand size. Chromatic Lantern taps for any color and makes your lands tap for any color. Not super exciting, but it'll make the deck run smoother, which is what we want.
Yeah, just getting a few mana rocks in there, especially because there's a lot of big mana in this deck, and like you just need it to flow a little bit smoother. So, yeah, that's beautifully said. Beautifully said from the guy that's not as beautiful as I am. I want to talk about Sauron, the Necromancer. For 3 and 2 black. He is a legendary creature, avatar horror, menace. Whenever he attacks, exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that card. Except it's a 3/3 black wraith with menace. At the beginning of the next end step, exile that token unless Sauron is your ring bearer. So
I like it a lot. It's on theme. It's Sauron, obviously, but you're doing a lot of this loot and stuff, and so you can just like get stuff back, even if it's only for a turn. That's super solid. If it stays around for longer because this Sauron is your ring bearer, works even better.
Oh yeah, and if you have some creatures with some pretty good effects, like especially ETBs, this makes it all the more better. Because like I said earlier, like I'd honestly probably change a lot more than 10 cards in this deck, and Sauron, the Necromancer, would go really well just because you're doing a lot of self-milling. In an ideal world.
Oh yeah. Let's just talk about all the Sauron. So we're adding Sauron the Dark Lord as well. He's 6 mana for a legendary avatar horror, as he always is. 7/6, he has Ward. Sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. That's like the best ward text I've ever seen in my entire life. That's so good. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass Orcs 1. Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you. Whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards. That's also an insane amount of card selection. And again, just because you're discarding cards doesn't mean you're losing them forever with your actual commander.
I like him. I like him more than the commander in this.
Yeah, honestly,
I like this guy. I would probably have him be the commander.
Swap in, no problem. Deck would work just fine with him.
It's funny because Sauron the Dark Lord and Sauron the Lord of the Rings, they work together.
Yeah,
they are best friends. I know they're the same person, or
Sauron
same
twins.
Horror. The Sauron twins,
same avatar.
I mean, you read it and you almost think, wow, is this This isn't the other commander of the deck, is it?
No,
No,
this is
no.
from the main set.
Okay. I was almost like, oh my gosh, is this just the same guy?
No,
I
the
know
other
it's the same guy.
commanders. You said his name earlier. Frantic searching. Saruman, the White Hand.
Ah, okay.
I knew it off the top of my head, just like that.
Another Sauron. Let's talk about this other Sauron. The Lidless Eye. He's got no lids on his eyes. That's
like
terrifying. 3 black and a red. When he enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap it. It gains haste until end of turn. 1 black and red. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Each opponent loses 2 life. So he's got that good ETB to take him out of the graveyard with. He's great. And plus, he's not like, he's 5 mana, but he's really not like crazy, especially because he gives you a body himself, and then he also gets to steal a creature until end of turn as well. He's pretty good value for 5 mana, if you ask me.
Yeah, and if you, I don't think you can in the Precon, but if you somehow get infinite colored mana, you win.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Each opponent loses 2 life, and it's not a tap ability or anything. It's perfect.
The Lidless Eye. You know.
Yeah, he also has no fingertips. Look at that
guy. There's a benefit to having no eyelids.
Yeah. What?
Cool. Well, those are the Saurons.
I'm going to talk about Palantir of Orthanc. Anyway, it's 3 mana for a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on this in Scry 2. Then, target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X cards, where X is the number of influence counters on it, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. You get to scry, you get to either draw or mill. No matter what happens, you're doing good. You're giving your opponent a choice, but it doesn't matter what they choose because you like it either way. It reminds me of the red Gear Hulk, combustible Gear Hulk. It's like, it almost is that card kind of in a way.
I love it because I love combustible Gear Hulk.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's evil. It's still on theme. I love everything about Palantir of Orthanc. I have no idea what it has to do with the overall story, though. I don't remember this in any of the movies or anything, so. But we got a cool enchantment saga here. 1 ring to rule them all. For 2 and 2 black, the first one is the ring tempts you. Then each player mills cards equal to your ring bearer's power. On the second one, destroy all non-legendary creatures. And then the third one, each opponent loses 1 life for each creature card in that player's graveyard. So this deck still wants to mill yourself, it still wants to mill other people, and the ring tempting you as well. It's fitting, it's checking all the little boxes that this deck has.
Also, after the upgrades, you'll have 11 legendary creatures, which is a solid amount, so that second part may be in your favor at some point.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, you're right.
Mystic Confluence, another boring one, but it smooths the deck out. It's either, you choose 3, it's an instant. I'm saying this backwards, it's 5 mana. Choose 3, you may choose the same one more than once. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. Return target creature to its owner's hand, or draw a card. So it's either, you just draw 3 off this, or like you can do 1 of each, or you can make sure someone really doesn't counter something, or doesn't resolve something. Yeah. Super solid card. Not horribly exciting, but it smooths out your deck just enough.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Alright, we're going to talk about what we're going to remove here. So we kind of both worked on this together, looking at what things just don't really work out. We'll talk about Gutter Snipe for a second, because there was like, in the main deck, there was like 16 sorceries and 6 total instances. What is that, making like 22 total, like, things that would trigger off of him?
And we ended up removing 3 of them.
Yeah, we're removing 3 of them too.
We did add 2 instants, but still.
You're not getting, like, if you're going to be pinging people, at least in my experience from playing this game, you have to go all out on like the pings and stuff, or it has to be a very major part of your game plan. I understand he's a goblin and there's like a little bit of goblin synergy in the deck, but it's such a tiny little sub theme that we decided to take that out.
Yeah, and in the same vein, we took out Goblin Dark Dwellers, which also cares about instants and sorceries, and there's not a lot that costs 3 or less, because that's what he needs. So seemed like an easy one to take out.
Simple. Yeah, and then we also cut out a couple lands. Cut out just a single mountain, and we did cut out Crumbling Necropolis, because there was 38 lands in this deck, which isn't horrible, especially for how many big mana spells are in this. But we did throw in 2 mana rocks, so it just kind of helps smooth out the deck and just kind of keeps you playing. Mana rocks tend to just help out smooth out the deck a little bit. So
yeah, and even though you got a lot of big mana stuff, there are several cheaper reanimate spells, which is kind of what you want the deck to be doing. Like, reanimate itself is just 1 mana, so that's... You don't need 38 lands for that. Something else we took out is Wake the Dragon. It's a 6 mana sorcery that makes a 6/6 black and red dragon creature token with flying menace, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, gain control of target artifact that player controls, and it has flashback for 8. Like, seems kind of fun, but at the same time, like, if this was just a creature, I wouldn't play this for 6 mana. It's pretty low impact, and it's slow. It's not worth it.
You can't even recur it, because it's not a creature.
Yeah, 1 recur off of flashback, but yeah, not off Sauron or anything.
Yeah, off of Sauron. Like, you can't reanimate this, you can't Sauron it. It's just kind of... It doesn't really fit. It's very cool. I like it. The art's awesome. It's a fun card, but... Yeah. We also looked at Subjugate the Hobbits. It's 7 mana, and it's just gain control. It's a sorcery. Gain control of each non-commander creature with mana value 3 or less. There's tons of really good creatures out there that are 3 mana or less. And I understand, like, this is like this deck is trying to steal things. It's just 7 mana is a lot.
Yeah, it's 7 mana is a lot to draw a card. That really depends on what your opponents are doing. You may draw this, and it may do like basically nothing for you.
Yeah, you could just be sitting on this card.
The ceiling's high, but the floor is like 0.
Yeah, you could be playing against people that are not, and like it could also be just big creatures.
You could still steal 4,000 Scoot Swarms with this, but you probably won't.
Yeah, because this is still a 7 mana spell.
Yeah,
and if your Scoot Swarms player has blue, they can probably just cast a 1 mana, counterspell.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, well, all right then.
We also took out Languish, which is a 4 mana. All creatures get -4/-4 until end of turn.
I don't hate this card. I don't hate this card, but
I kind of do. I mean, it's sorcery speed, and
it does get away from like indestructible and stuff.
Yeah, there's not a lot of indestructible 4 toughness things. I feel like, I don't know.
Also that, yeah.
It just feels.
But it doesn't.
You already have a couple other board wipes in the deck, and we don't need this.
We looked at Monstrosity of the Lake, and Howie made a good point. Even if you cast Sauron for however much he was, 8, and then when Monstrosity of the Lake enters, you can skip the whole 4 and a blue part, but you still have to pay 5 for it to do anything. Or else it's just a simple 4/6
12
creature.
Mana. That's not
12 mana.
13 mana. What's the math?
Yeah, 13 mana to cast Sauron, and then Monstrosity of the Lake just to tap all your opponent's creatures. Oh, and put a stun counter on them. It is the payoff for that is so low. It was insulting.
No,
so we took it out.
This card is a trap. Like, I bet you as a new player, this looks tasty. It looks like some good old sushi. but it's bad sushi.
some calamari.
Yeah, this card will never be good in this deck. Unless you're playing the grindiest game of Magic of all time, and even then, I don't think it's... You could do something else for way better. Shiny Impetus, just read... I'm not telling you to read it. I don't want to read it. It's just not good. Just look at it, see all the words. Too many words for too much to do nothing. Get rid of it.
I don't want to read. Yeah, like this Shiny Impetus just doesn't belong in the deck. It doesn't really help you. And like it helps, but it like as a base level it helps, but it is not.
No, it's not that cool.
It doesn't do anything really.
No.
I do think we have. Oh yeah, we have Revenge of the Ravens, which on its own is a cool kind of fun card, but it's not synergizing with anything that your deck does. No. It's just kind of like, oh, here, yeah, sure, some people, maybe this will help against Scoot Swarm, for example. This deck's a lot of this deck stuff is pretty good against a Scoot Swarm, I guess, but
I guess
it's very specific, you know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, you're right, it's not a bad card, but at the same time, we want to be furthering our game plan, and this does not help us.
Yeah, it remains unfocused, such as Gutter Snipe.
We're not playing a pillow fort deck for Revenge of the Ravens to work out that way.
Yeah.
No.
Cool deck, but
yeah, I think after all the upgrades, a lot of it was just taking out some dead draws and smoothing out the game plan. But I think that's all the deck really needed, honestly.
Yeah, all it really needed was to get it a little more focused, like we've been talking about. It has a little too many sub-themes right out of the box, so it will play very clunkily. Like if you are, especially if you're new or even old to the format, this deck, I can already tell without even playing it, will be clunky.
Yeah.
And you will be sitting there with not much to do as your opponents are moving around. But when you get something big, when you cast that Sauron and you get all these cast triggers, you will be feeling good. But at the end of the day, we're just trying to smooth out this deck and make it still on theme, baby.
Is this guy like the big bad of Lord of the Rings?
I believe so, yeah.
He
gets killed by... I just know something about, like, he's like, no man can kill me. And then he gets killed by a woman because she's like, I am no man. And she kills him.
That's right. But,
dude,
like,
ladies,
it kind of feels lame for
it.
him to be, like, so cool, so evil, and then the deck be clunky out of the box.
Yeah, but well, I mean...
After our 10 upgrades and cuts in universe cards only, on theme, etc., I think it's gonna work out better for you guys.
Same. It'll work out better for me.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well.
So Levi, why don't you go enjoy your Burger King?
How'd you know?
Our watchers can enjoy hitting the subscribe button and tell us comments on what else they would have added or cut. And and tell me what the ring does, because I don't know.
Tell me something about Lord of the Rings.
Literally anything. Give me that deep cut lore.
Alrighty, well, I've still been Levi.
Sure, man. Thanks and see ya.
Bye, everyone.